And today we are talking about COVID-19 in the diaspora. Before we continue, I'm actually, right now as we speak, I'm fighting COVID-19. I was diagnosed with COVID-19 3 weeks ago. One thing I don't want is today this story to be about me, but what I can tell our viewers is that this thing is real. It's happened to me. It's happened to my wife. Right now, as we speak, I feel a little better, apart from just the occasional aftershocks that come after, you go through this. So I've lived it. I know it's real. My wife right now upstairs. I'm recording this show in my small studio in my basement. After 3 weeks, I'm able now to speak. But my wife, she's isolated upstairs in the bedroom, and she's fighting for her life. So this thing is real. And one of the reasons why I'm saying this, because, journalists, we never really want the story to be about us. But I think it's very important for me to come out in the open so that we can help thousands of Kenyans living abroad. As you know, Muriuki, right now, the story is that Kenyans have been left on their own. Kenyans living abroad have been left on their own. And yesterday I read something that really touched me, and that is the initiative that you've started concerning Kenyans living abroad. Please, just briefly, I know you have so many questions to ask me, but like I said, let this no story be about me.
Oh, Chris, my good friend, I'm so sorry to hear what you've been going through, and it's a testament that there are good people in this world, granted that you have, decided to share your story, not just with Kenyans, but with the whole world, as a way of also removing the stigma around COVID-19. So I really appreciate you, and also for what you've always been doing to the community of Kenyans in America. And also to your dear wife, I do hope that she recovers quickly, and you guys go back together to being the great couple that you are.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, man.
All right. I'm sorry about everything, and just know that I'm here for you as a brother. So
appreciate that.
So that's part of the reason why it was an initiative. Actually, my friend Thuo, who runs Jamhuri news website, which is also a news site that dedicates its news to highlighting the stories of Kenyans in diaspora, which is based in Massachusetts. Contacted me and said, "Hey, we need to do something." And the reason he contacted me is he knew that me being in the West Coast, I have a kind of a pulse on the ground in terms of a number of diasporans on this side of the world. And so that's how it started, and we decided, we need to do something about our brothers and sisters, because we have heard stories. People had written to our news emails asking, they need help. And that is when we decided, we have to do something. And we did contact Lily Richards, who runs the Kenya Women in the USA, Kwitu, and she agreed to come on board. So the initiative of trying to figure out who needs help in the American diaspora is a joint effort of African Warrior Magazine, which we talked about, Jamhuri News, and Kwitu. And the whole purpose is to figure out where Kenyans who are in need of help are. That is on the first hand. The other hand is to figure out, are there Kenyans in American diaspora who are in a position to help your brothers and sisters? And so we want to be that platform that pulls all resources together.
That's very important, Muriuki, because Professor Makau wrote recently in one of the articles, the Kenyan government is very, very ready to take our remittances and talk proudly about our remittances. But most of the times when it comes to issues that directly affect us, it's missing in action. I talk briefly about what the role that the Kenyan embassies abroad are supposed to play, locate that in the real time that we're living right now. Many Kenyans, as we speak right now, many Kenyans are stranded in China. They have no way of getting back to Kenya. Please speak briefly about that.
Thank you, Chris. You couldn't have elucidated it any better. I'm a sucker for diaspora issues, and if you may allow me this latitude, and I do not want this to be to appear as though it's a bash against government. It's just criticism. And as you may know, Nelson Mandela said that criticism prevents one from becoming a demigod. So we do not want to create a government that thinks that it has it all covered. There is the Kenya diaspora policy of 2014. That policy was supposed to go into a legislation and become a bill in parliament, and then get the signature of the president. And the purpose of that bill, of that diaspora policy, was to create a framework which would have included formation of the National Diaspora Council. If we had the National Diaspora Council, a number of these things that we are seeing either in China or in other countries where Kenyans are stranded, they could have been resolved way before. Because in my imagination, the Diaspora Council would have been made up of Kenyan citizens who are living in some of these countries, for example. So let's take, for example, a country like America. You will have had a number of representatives who will be on the ground and particularly working with either the embassy or the Kenyan government directly, and who have a pulse on the ground and who are able to communicate directly on the concerns and aspirations of the population of Kenyans in those respective countries. But right now, we have left it to the embassy. Let's face it, the embassy is unable and cannot in any way manage to meet the widespread diaspora in America, because as you know, across 50 states, 130,000 people in different cities spread out unevenly in America, it would be very impossible for the embassy to work either on its political arm and also work on the welfare of the community. So the starting point has to be, let's go back and ask ourselves, what happened to the Kenyan diaspora policy of 2014? Who are the legislators who are looking and willing to work with the diaspora towards the enactment of this legislation that becomes a bill, and then it's signed by the president, and then we have the Diaspora Council.
Right now, we are dealing with the COVID-19 that is ravaging the diaspora. I can tell you, as I'm speaking to you right now, that I know at least not less than 15 Kenyans, and this is just only in the state of Delaware, who have either been sick of this virus or that right now are battling with it. So this thing is very real, and right now all our efforts should be directed towards that. Because Muriuki, as it is right now, if a Kenyan passed away in America right now, they're not going to be transported back at home. And as you and me all also know, it's always been, it's not even, the reality is not a cliche. The reality is that we bury our own. If somebody dies in the diaspora, that's our responsibility as Kenyans. We do everything that we can to transport the body. Once the body reaches Kenyatta International Airport, that is out of our hands, but we've always buried our own. Right now, we are burying our own here. But as it is right now, you can't transport the body at home. And recently in Maryland, a young man was just buried with only his family. Please speak to that agony and locate that the initiative that you are working on.
And before I got there, I want to mention something in addition to not just the part of us having to bury our own. The other reality is, and maybe people are not paying attention to this, is Kenyan students who are on F1 visa. who are in America, and when countries closed their borders, they could not travel back to Kenya, and granted that schools have been closed. So what happens? And some of them don't come from families that are not unable to sustain their livelihood in America, which, as you know, can be at times prohibitive. So you have had a number of students who are stranded, and I must also at this point in time praise the ingenuity of a number of Kenyans in America who have sacrificed and even offered to host some of these students who have been stranded. And all goes back to the question of, does the government even is the government even aware of these facts? And do Kenyans even in America trust the government enough to even send communication via the embassy? And also coming to your point in terms of people having to to carry on with their culture. It's sad that a number of people either in Kenya or here in America are having to bury their loved ones in a way that maybe is unprecedented, where you have maybe only a few people, and for Kenyans who are dying here and who would have wished for their remains to be taken back home, the reality is that they are having to be buried, without without their loved ones, maybe from Kenya, joining in the in the burial ceremony. So it's kind of a tough situation and position to be in, and but that's part of the lessons that COVID-19 is teaching us.
Again, what's attracted to your post in terms of the outreach that you're you're making to Kenyans living abroad, and I'm just hoping that this goes beyond just America, because we have a large diaspora community in Canada, we have a large diaspora community in Europe, in Australia, even in Africa. People who are not in a position right now to travel, or people who are not even in a position right now to share their experiences. One of the things that I would like us to do going forward after this is that to have at least twice in a week updates on how many Kenyans are being affected, how many Kenyans living abroad are being affected by the coronavirus, the issues that they face, the challenges that they face, and also the kind of help that they need. In the last 15 years or so, we've seen so many people going into the nursing field. And do you agree with me that nursing pays well? So we have majority, actually more than half, half, half the Kenyan community, especially among the female Kenyans living in America, are working in the nursing field. These people are exposed. These people are suffering as we speak right now. Let's just speak briefly about that.
Um, Before I talked about that, we talked about this initiative and asked whether its application is across the diaspora. And unfortunately, for right now, we are trying to limit it to only America because of the districts, and it's not a long-term aspiration that we have. We just want to act for the now. In future, maybe we could extend our hand to other organizations, including yourself, and figure out a way in which we can be there for the society, not only when there are such pandemics. We can try and organize our community better than we are right now. But so far, what we are seeing is that the effects of COVID-19 are there for Kenyans in America. We should not bury our hands in the sand and assume that oh yeah, people are still having their jobs, or people are still making income. And part of the effects that some pundits or analysts are not looking at is where the effects are, and the solutions that have been provided either through the stimulus package, why it's not maybe enough for the community of Kenyans in diaspora. For example, let's talk even about we know for sure that the Kenyan community in America is one of the highly educated communities in America. Actually, according to Pew Research, Kenyans in America are the second highest educated among all black immigrants in America. So we're looking
Wow.
at a very
Yeah.
highly educated community. Having said that, a number of these Kenyans, there's a good chunk of Kenyans who are on work visa, which is the HB1 visa. Now, with the closure of government and federal offices, we know that a number of these visas have to be renewed. So we are looking at a risk of some of these people who are on these types of visas, which are non-immigrant visas, overstaying their visa because they have expired. So what happens after that? um, UCIS, which is the department that deals with immigration, has not provided any framework on how people, because of the effects of COVID-19, how visas are going to be renewed. If you overstay your visa because offices were not open, how are people going to get their visas renewed? And would there be a penalty, for such people? So there is that risk, and people are afraid of that. That is one bit about how COVID-19 is affecting immigration. The second bit is we have to look at stimulus package and how and its application. If you are not a citizen or a green card holder who has, I think, lived in America for more than 5 years, you are most likely not to get it. And also we know that Kenyans work hard, as you said, so which means that most likely there's a big chunk for those, especially in the healthcare industry. They made more than the cap, which is 99,000 for those who are single, and 100 and I think 98,000 for those who filed their taxes as married. So if they earn more than that, and they have, for one reason or the other, lost their job or have been furloughed, then you're looking at the possibility that they won't even receive the stimulus money. So there are all these bits and pieces. When you put together, you're seeing that the effects of COVID-19 are actually not just about losing job. It's about a community that has been affected. And as one person told me, is that you might as well start seeing signs of depression among the community, not just of Kenyan immigrants, but a big chunk of immigrants in American diaspora.
That is so true. That's very, very true, Maruki. Even as we wind up, please let's just sharpen the focus on the initiative that you've started. I'm personally very happy that you're involved in Kwitu. Kwitu is, of course, no, that's a very, very elaborate and very, very comprehensive organization. I know Lily Richards, and she's a very fantastic Kenyan woman based here. She loves her group and she loves women under Kwitu. Are you planning to expand beyond that? Because we have other groups, like, for instance, I know in the Northeast, especially New Jersey, we have groups like Simba, Kenyan groups that are organized, more organized. And these are people, these are groups that can really give you very good data because they're in touch with their membership.
Um, what we are actually trying to do is reach Kenyans where they are. Know of bodies of Kenyans, or real people, and where they are. Are you affected? Because right now we do not know for certainty. We know a number of Kenyans have been affected, but we don't know the exact people. So we are trying to figure out who is who and where. So our data is trying to figure out, can we have real people who are in need of help? Could they be 100? Could they be 200? Can we reach those 200? How can we help those 200 people? Do they, for example, need counseling? Do they need financial help? Do they need homeschooling for their children? Do they, whatever help they need, we want to pull our resources together and help them. And also we are going to, once we figure out, oh, there are 100 people or 200 or 500 people in need of help, we are going to make arrangements where that specific help that each person asked for, they are going to get that. And we are also going to go to Kenyans and tell them, these are the people who are in need of help. Of course, you'll not be revealing their personal information if they choose not to. But we'll be going to Kenyans in American diaspora and telling them, hey, there are brothers and sisters who have been affected by COVID-19. They need help in terms of X, Y, Z. Can you provide whatever support you can to these people? And I know for sure that we are going to help at least some of the our people who have been affected by COVID-19.
I just had a discussion with Muriuki. Muriuki is a Kenyan living in LA who has just started a project to help Kenyans in the diaspora, especially in the US, who are dealing with issues of COVID-19. Please just speak briefly about how this COVID-19 is affecting Kenyans in the diaspora. As you may have read reports in Kenya, the Kenyan government seems to be a wall in all this. It doesn't seem to be coordinated. As we speak right now, many Kenyans, especially in China, are stranded. They don't know how to get home. If the government comes in to help you, they want you to use your own resources. Can you speak to that, please?
Thank you, Chris, for having me. As you said, COVID-19 has affected a lot of people. It has affected everybody worldwide. And what it has done is to expose the government or the countries that are not able or willing to help their citizens, because since it's affecting everybody, all the governments are focusing their resources on their people. So if there is one government or so which doesn't focus on its people, their people suffer. But the thing about, I think Kenyans in general and Kenyans in government in particular need to understand that they are the servants of the people. The people hired them to do specific jobs. And as what is happening in China is, I would say, despicable, because one of the officers I saw being asked and said that the Kenyans who are having problems are having those problems because they do not obey the rules there. The responsibility of a government official, a Kenyan government official, is not to decide which Kenyan did not obey a foreign law. Their responsibility is to ensure that every Kenyan is safe, and then they can discuss about laws or not laws or practices or morality when they are at home.
In your understanding, what should be the role of an envoy, the foreign embassy in any country? What should be the role of the Kenyan embassy, especially in Washington, D.C.?
The role of the Kenyan, an ambassador everywhere, okay, is to take care of the interest of the country where they come from, to take care of the citizens, their citizens. Basically, if I go to Kenya and I'm an American, I expect an American embassy to take care of me, not to care about what I did, what I didn't do, nothing like that. That is to be sorted out in the US. Just exactly the same thing all Kenyans should expect their governments. This idea of them being subservient, playing second fiddle to Chinese as of now, that cannot work. In the first place, I don't understand why they think that because they owe the Chinese money, they have to lie low. When you owe somebody money, so much money, basically they should be nice to you because you can refuse to pay.
While the Kenyan government is sleeping on its job, but many Kenyans living abroad are affected by the coronavirus. In many ways, there are many Kenyans who went abroad as students who don't have their families there. We have many Kenyans that are nurses who work in the health field that are directly affected, and they're going to be affected in this issue. Why do you think it's important for, especially Kenyans living abroad, to come together to support the people who have been affected by this COVID-19? As you know, personally, I've been affected. My family has been affected. I've been affected, and I thank God for the kind of support that I've received from people like you, the community in Delaware. I can't thank you enough. speak to the fact that, speak to the need for Kenyans living abroad to take care of their own.
First, we must understand this. In this particular case, we either organize and thrive together or will perish alone. Because everybody's taking care of their people. You remember, the NATO countries are now not like acting together. Even the European Union, everybody is out for themselves. When there was no PPE and everybody was fighting for PPE, there was no unity like, oh, we have to do this thing together. It was everybody for themselves. So Kenyans and Africans must understand that dependency on other people. They are people like, they are just human beings like any other. They should be able to organize themselves and thrive together themselves, or they'll perish alone. So my view is, and in any case, when people see that you are organized and you are thriving together, they will respect you. But if you are always, even when when your people are in trouble, you are just still there. Even the person you are begging is in trouble. Like the Chinese, they had this problem, and now they are turning on to Africans, saying that the Africans had the problem. And I'm sorry, I was about to use some word on air that is, and these people sitting in Nairobi think that they have to like bend to them just because because they have a loan, or they want to sign an agreement or something. But even signing that agreement, if somebody knows that you can't negotiate properly, even that agreement you got signed will never be a good agreement.
That's very important. Yes, we've been talking to Dr. David Amakobe. David Amakobe is a Kenyan entrepreneur. He is the founder, CEO of African Woods. He's based here in Delaware. He lives in Middletown. And we've been talking about the need for Kenyans in the diaspora, especially, to come together and support those ones who have been affected by the COVID-19 as the virus ravages the world. Reports that we've seen, especially from around the world, is that Kenyans living in the diaspora have been left on their devices. They have to vent for themselves. So today we've been talking to Muriuki. Muriuki is a Kenyan living in Los Angeles who is putting together a group that will look into this thing seriously. And of course, Dr. Makobe, who is very, very vast with issues about the Kenyan community abroad. Again, thank you for joining us this week on Diaspora Life Show. Please remember to watch this live on Standard Digital videos. See you again next week.